Hello my loves, welcome or welcome back. I hope you guys are doing well whenever this reading finds you. Today we're going to be doing a more thorough and in-depth reading. I have been feeling pulled to go in this direction for a while and start incorporating these readings more often, more frequently, because there are certain themes and certain messages that keep popping up that are reoccurring, and I feel like pick a cards just would not do them justice. So this channeling session, collective reading, whatever you want to call it, we're going to be getting into a lot today. There's a lot of details, a lot of information that came through. So I hope whoever it is for, that it does help. Of course, it's general and timeless, so take what resonates for you, leave what doesn't. You guys know your story and your situation best, right? So you could resonate with all of the reading, parts of the reading, or none of the reading. That is completely normal. Just take what fits and leave what does not. With it being timeless, if I didn't say it already, whenever you're seeing this, that is when it should apply for you. Everything is linked down below as always for you guys, so if you want to book a private session with me, if you want to follow me elsewhere, for those of you interested in tipping or donating towards the channel, my work, and also our move that we have upcoming, all the information for that is there as well. And I did want to take a second and shout out the person that recently donated. Thank you so much for your help and your support. I'm really grateful for your generosity. I know we all have so much going on right now, but it means a lot to me that you would think of us and want to help us in that way, so thank you. All right, grab your drinks, your snacks, pen, paper, notebook, for those of you that want to take notes or channel alongside with me. I hope you guys enjoy this reading today. Let's get into it. Okay, so I want to go over the synchronicities and the signs that came through first in connection to your reading. I am going to break the reading up into different parts because while a lot of details came through the first time, I felt it didn't go as deep as it could have considering the themes and the messages that did come through. So we're going to break it up. We'll start with the signs that either you could have been seeing prior to this reading or that you may see after as a confirmation that this is your message. I feel like you'll know as you listen if you resonate with it, but for those of you that like the extra confirmations, then that may be something that unfolds for you. So I call this the Cinderella reading because Cinderella came through multiple times. Tangled came through as well, but Cinderella is the one that has been reoccurring. Mostly references to the live action Cinderella. So I've been seeing the character herself, things in relation to the story. I've been seeing things about the siblings, seeing things about her dress, and the song Lavender Blue popped up for me the past couple of days at night. I think I've heard it like 3 times now. It just popped up randomly on my tablet. So those are all things. Either, again, that popped up for you prior to this reading or may pop up after. You could be experiencing certain flashbacks, okay, which may make more sense as I talk about what came through for your messages. Anxiety as well. So this would be connected to specific experiences, but there would be a common theme, something underlying that links all these experiences together. But at this time, you may be finding yourself like in a state of more, I'm hearing passive and active, okay, reflection. And you are having certain things pop up at this time because you are in a state of purging. There are definitely maybe blockages with communication. This could be you experiencing miscommunication with people. This could actually represent someone being blocked here. You blocked someone, someone blocked you, but more so specifically, there was something here about you having been silenced or attempts have been made to silence you. And I say that because one of the biggest interferences and problems I've had in recording your reading is that my phone keeps glitching and it keeps making it so the recording cannot be saved, played, used, altered in any way. You can't keep recording. There's just a lot of issues. with that. And I always associate that with being cut off or being silenced, and that makes sense too, because you guys have had a person, specifically one main person in your life, while there may be others either tied to this situation or other people that have had a similar role or energy, character as this person. Someone that has made it a point to stunt you, to silence you, to restrict you and control you in some way, and to suppress you, suppress who you are, suppress your beliefs, just suppress your essence, your identity in general. So we also have with this person that I just mentioned, and someone, I don't know if you guys can hear that. I don't know if it's a saw or if it's a blower. That happened the other day when I was pulling cards for you guys. There was someone out here a few times with a chainsaw, and every time I was talking about this person, they would start using the chainsaw. So there definitely is something about severance here, severing yourself between severing yourself with this person, severing yourself from a situation, from a pattern, from a generational cycle, something like that. But with this person, it seems as though they're rapidly developing certain health issues or complications. They may just seem sick or unwell. They may not look well. This person may look sick, or it may be manifesting as them aging rapidly. So that could definitely be a confirmation for someone here. Also, the birds, you had a lot of crows and doves come through as I was recording. So you could be seeing crows or doves, or hearing crows and doves. So I'm going to pause this because I don't want to do the thing, and then we will continue on and move on to your current energy and talk more about what came through the first time. My phone is overheating, so I have to move it over, and hopefully it doesn't mess with the audio too much. Before we break down your current energy and the position you are in right now, I want to give backstory, if you want to call it that. The initial messages that came through first that will help this make more sense. So what I got is that there is a person that was in your life, and I feel as though this person has been connected to you since childhood. This could be a family member. This could be someone that became a part of your family through marrying someone else, being connected to someone else. Somehow they either were associated with your family, they were a part of your family, or this is someone older than you, but that theme, that connection to childhood, I feel very, very strongly. So this main person is someone who was there for very key and important parts of your childhood, and specifically certain phases of your development, and they severely impacted those phases and stages. And what I mean by that is this person, because of their behavior and their treatment towards you and certain actions they took, that impacted you in a really big way. And it feels like this person has caused you a lot of damage mentally, emotionally, maybe even physically. Like there's trauma here with this person, or tied to a situation involving this person. And this main energy, this main antagonist, very much reminds me of the stepmother in Cinderella, or the witch from Tangled, who pretended to be her mother, took on the role of being a mother, and used that role and position and that emotional tie or bond as a way to manipulate. What I'm hearing is that not everything is as it seems. Either the way in which you perceive them initially or at a certain point in your life is not how they actually were or are. And either now you are discovering and unveiling these truths about this person and their real intentions, or this is coming through now because there is some sort of karma that is being balanced out in the situation between you and them. There was some sort of cycle here. It feels like a karmic cycle. And when I say karma, I mean neutral, right? I don't mean positive, negative, good or bad or anything like that. I see karma as neutral. But this particular situation, this person absolutely tormented you or took advantage of you, calculated against you. This is someone who it feels as though they were very envious and jealous of you from a young age. And they intentionally did things to suppress you, to confuse you, and to make you feel very insecure about yourself, to feel unworthy, to feel less than, just to feel inferior. This person went out of their way to make you feel invalidated. And again, it is because this person, regardless of how old you were, how old they were jealous of you. They saw you as competition in some way. So especially if this was a step parent, a foster parent, an adoptive parent, or if it was a biological parent, for some reason, they felt as though they were in competition with you when it comes to something or someone. So it could have been the other parent. Maybe they felt as though they had to compete for attention. There also was a message about this person deliberately doing things to not just sabotage you and your relationship with others, especially if it does involve another parent or something like that, or a specific person. It's like they went out of their way to destroy your character and to make you seem as something as you weren't, to make you feel as though you were always the problem, you were the scapegoat in some way. And one of the cards that stuck out to me most the first time was the Thief card. It was in the Kipper deck. And in the card, you have this wealthy man who's walking, it looks like down an alley. And then you have this woman who's dressed up, and she looks wealthy as well. And you would assume that this woman was with the man, right? But it almost looked like the way she was positioned and how she was kind of like expressing herself or portraying herself, it felt as though she was trying to distract the man and get his attention. And it did look like it was in a more seductive kind of way. Like she was using her looks, her body, her appearance as a way to distract the man, while the child, who was impoverished, had tattered clothes, tried to take the pocket watch. So the two things that I was feeling was, like I already said, that you were treated as a scapegoat, or you were made out to be something that you weren't. Maybe you were made out to be a problem, someone that caused trouble, someone that couldn't be trusted or relied upon. It was like this person attacked your integrity. And I think it was because later on down the line, they became more malicious and even more vindictive in their actions and the things that they did. So it was almost as if they did all this to make it so you wouldn't be someone that would be believed down the line. Like if you were to speak up, if you were to speak out, if other people were to see certain things, it was their way of discrediting you and making you look like the antagonist while they were the victim, right? Like you were the perpetrator, even though you were a child. In my opinion, very sick, very nasty behavior. And the other thing I felt with that card, and you got the toil and labor card, which looked like a child who was working, also overworked and in tattered clothes. There was this feeling of being enslaved, of being imprisoned, not being allowed to have your own life, to have your own identity outside of a specific unit. And not only were you a scapegoat or a black sheep, but you were the person that everyone seemed to depend on, and especially this person. It was almost as if they pushed their responsibilities onto you. And you, again, were forced into a certain role where you had to do things that you shouldn't have had to have done at that age, at that time. So it was almost as if you were enslaved by this person, but then constantly tormented and potentially abused by this person. I don't even want to say potentially, because the behavior itself is abusive, but there's varying levels and degrees of abuse. And they just feel like a viper. If you haven't realized it yet, what you are going to be seeing very soon is how much this person has impacted you and shaped your perspective when it comes to yourself and the feelings you have about yourself, or the relationship you have with yourself. And I do get the strong sense that you have improved greatly, because when I connect with your energy, I feel someone who has spent a lot of time, energy, effort, and work navigating through these things, dismantling certain things, and evolving, changing, growing from these experiences. And it hasn't been something that has been easy, but you have done it and you are doing it. But for some reason right now, it also feels as though you could be hypercritical of yourself. You may be too hard on yourself, or certain insecurities, fears, and patterns may be resurfacing that you have been working on, but it's almost as if you're like, since you are revisiting certain things subconsciously and maybe consciously as well, it may feel as though you're moving backwards or you're declining when you're not. It's just you're experiencing this final purge when it comes to this specific part of this cycle. And it doesn't mean that it won't be something that pops up or that you reflect on down the line in the future. If you do, that's not a bad thing. That's completely normal, okay? So don't be hard on yourself for that. It's how you choose to move through those moments and how you move beyond those moments that shifts things. So connecting with this Princess of Cups, or the Page of Cups, this is your inner child. This is you holding space, healing, and honoring your inner child. I was also getting something about angry youth. You could have been very angry when you were a child, or certain parts of your childhood could be like the angry teen. There may be certain aspects of you from these points in time that may come through, may be triggered by certain things presently. You may just feel as though you have repressed emotions that are coming through. And this is good, because this is your way of processing them and releasing them and letting them go, and also finding ways in which you can healthily cope with them moving forward, right? You don't want to repress them. You don't want to internalize, even though that is what was expected of you before. That forced suppression made you oppress yourself. That is what you are working on breaking. One of those things, one of the big things that you're working on breaking. You have stunted expression and creativity as well. So it may feel uncomfortable connecting with your creativity, allowing yourself to be creative and to just do things because you enjoy them, because you're just curious about them or interested in them. There is a certain level of discomfort that may come through, and it may be because there are fears associated or tied to your expression, or what you create, or what you make, or how you use your time. You may feel as though taking the time to just do things because you enjoy them, like you're being lazy, or you're being neglectful, or if you're not producing, or if you're not getting money from something, or if it's not benefiting someone else, there is an anxiety there that it's either not worth doing, or it's wrong, it's not as important. So being in the Page of Cups is really positive, because again, you're holding space for that part of you that never got to experiment, to explore, to express themselves freely and unconditionally, and that received that acceptance as you discovered more of who you were and you embraced your authenticity. You can never embrace it. So now you're coming through as the inner child, but also as the support you needed, as the guardian you needed to help you feel safe, to help you feel understood, and to help you feel loved through all these changes and fluctuating emotions and the different phases that you go through. Do you find that you shame yourself when you feel and experience certain things? Like when you're struggling with something, or when you experience a certain emotion that you don't like, do you shame yourself for feeling it? Are you hard on yourself for experiencing an emotion in a certain way, or from seeing something a certain way, or having anxiety? These are things that are going to come through if they haven't already. It's because you really need that nurturing. And I see you giving that to yourself. So this is your reminder to continue to give that to yourself, to give yourself what you needed, what you lacked, what you so desperately deserve. You don't need to prove your worth or your value. And I'm really proud of you for taking the time to reframe your mentality, to break these patterns, to break these cycles, and to identify what the root cause and wound is that contributed to it. Again, that is not easy, and you should also be proud of yourself for that as well. The last thing I want to touch on in your current energy, I wrote exchange and energy passing, which I kind of already touched on briefly, but you guys probably have heard of destiny swapping, right? And it's rarely as theatrical and intense as it is portrayed, especially in like Hollywood and movies and media and things like that. But it feels as though through this person passing, projecting all of those unwanted negative feelings, it was like they deflected whatever they didn't like and whatever they resented about themselves and their situation and their role and responsibilities they were supposed to be accountable for. It was all pushed onto you. And that's why I felt like there was a switch. It was like, just like with Cinderella, just like Entangled, the witch would siphon the energy from Rapunzel and from her hair to stay young. So that's why she kept her isolated, so she could feed off of her. That's why she manipulated her into seeing things in a certain way and weaponize their connection, so she can continue to feed off of her energy. Cinderella, the stepmother and the stepsisters, they treated her like she was a slave. She was tormented and humiliated constantly, but they kept her around because they needed her, not just for the physical labor and service that they made her provide, but so they can continue to live the life that they had. All that was supposed to be Cinderella's to go to Cinderella, but the stepmother used her so she can continue to benefit. She was a pawn. This person absolutely siphoned your energy. They tried to pass their life onto you, wanting to stunt you, to confuse you, to manipulate you so they could use you. And it feels as though this person has stolen from you. Whether it was just stealing your energy, stealing your innocence, stealing your time. I do feel there's also a situation where this person could have stolen something physical or material. They could have taken an inheritance. There could have been something about someone accumulating debt in someone else's name. Again, there's just something about someone stealing something material, or something was supposed to go to you for some of you. Okay, may not be for all of you, but for some of you, you were supposed to receive something, and this person either intercepted or they tried to intercept. And this is a big reason why this karma is playing out the way it is right now, and why the things that are unfolding in their life are going to be manifesting in that way. It's because this person, they were the thief. They tried passing that archetype onto you, but they were the true thief. Let's get into your recent past and see what the energy looks like there. So when we look at your past, you have the Death card. And the Death card would represent epiphanies and breakthroughs that you experience through endings and through transitions. And this ending that you have experienced in your life, and I do feel it's partially ongoing, like you got over the major hurdle. The worst part of something is over, but there was a lot that was exposed and brought to light during this time. And I also wrote down the path of destruction. That's what it feels like, a path of destruction. So you may feel as though recently you experienced a tower moment, or a tower after tower, where it was like one thing after another was exposed or started to crumble. Like mostly this is going to be surrounding certain illusions, certain facades, things that have, again, persisted within a certain dynamic, within a certain unit or environment. It's kind of hard to explain, but there's a specific word for it. It's like this unspoken pattern and narrative. It's like everybody, let's say within a family, right? Everybody within a family, they know of certain things. They know of certain patterns, addictions, traumas, abuse, secrets. Like they know about all of it, but they just pretend like everything's okay. Like nothing is wrong. Nothing is ever wrong. There's this energetic oppression that covers, or suppression that covers, an entire group of people. And this feels generational. It feels like the silencing, the dismissal, the us versus them, the enmeshment, the scapegoating. This is something that has been ongoing for generations. And you, while you did not ask for this, and while there may have been many moments where you just wish this wasn't the case, like you felt as though it was your responsibility again to fill a certain role, to be a certain person, to do certain things, you are the one that is strong enough to break it. And you are, and you have been. You don't even realize that there are certain things that you have already broken. And that goes back to you being too critical or too hard on yourself, feeling as though you constantly have to be working on something, constantly have to be doing something, like viewing yourself from this perpetual state of imperfection instead of just allowing yourself to be, giving yourself the time, the grace, the compassion, the understanding consistently. You need that on a regular basis. You need that nurturing. I was going to say nurturing and nourishing together. You need both of those on a regular basis. And this exposure, this reveal in your life, I do think it's tied to this person, but I also think it's in connection to a greater picture, a greater dynamic. Again, this unit where there have been many unhealthy, destructive, chaotic patterns of behaviors and things that have just been done, exhibited, displayed. That is what's coming to light. You may realize that nothing has changed within a certain group of people, or people's true envy and intentions and their true intentions are coming to light, and those illusions are being dissolved. There's a certain level of fakeness that I think has been exposed for you guys, has been revealed. And it may be something that you have been feeling for a very long time, or that you've always been aware of, but that's the thing. When you intuitively feel something, when you know something, but then you see it in front of you, physically play out in front of you, and it's confirmed, it can be hard. It can be hard to digest, because there may be a part of you that was hoping and wishing that it wasn't real, or that you were wrong, or that you're projecting or something, like, or maybe it'll change. But there have been a lot of things physically confirmed for you recently, tied to this person, tied to a bigger situation. I also was getting a message, I don't know if I talked about it yet, but about another adult or guardian or other people in this situation that played a passive role, they witnessed the mistreatment, the abuse, the deflection. They didn't do anything. They didn't say anything. They could have done a lot more. And they chose not to because it feels as though they did not want to be, they didn't want to receive the brunt of this person's like aggression and their negativity. They didn't want to become the target. So they were comfortable letting you take it all. And even to this day, it feels as though this passive person or these passive individuals take no responsibility or accountability for their passiveness, and they're still trying to dismiss, to deflect, change memories. Like they're trying to gaslight or act as though they just don't know, they don't remember certain things, they don't know certain things, they were unaware of certain things, trying to act as though they're oblivious. And that is to keep up with a certain narrative within this unit that keeps the illusion alive, right? So this ending that you're experiencing or you have experienced is like a gate that you go through. And you may see it as walking through this gate is leaving something behind and closing a door, but with that, it is also the gateway that leads you into a fresh start and a new beginning. And the way it's being shown to me is on the one side, it's like you're walking through a graveyard, and a lot of these things, I'm seeing a lot of graves that are being marked. Like it almost looks like unmarked graves and things that were dug up, but then now they're identifiable, and now there's flowers, and now it's like there's space that has been held, there's acknowledgement, there's recognition, whereas before there was a lot of unknowns. Where does this feeling come from? Where does this pattern come from? Why do I see things this way? So that is what you're leaving behind. And with that, you know, you do have people that are still walking around aimlessly in that graveyard, refusing to acknowledge certain things, not taking true accountability for certain things, people that are not ready or prepared to move forward and grow alongside you. They are comfortable with where they're at. They'd rather live in the lies and the delusions than face the truth, because it's difficult, and taking accountability in that way is something that would really shatter their ego. And this persona that they've been wearing, that they've taken on and lived in for several years, if not the majority of their lives, right? So experiencing an ending and a breakdown of what was to create space for what comes next and what is new. That is in your recent past, and now you're in the Page of Cups, which is also being in a state of creativity and expression. So you are in a space of manifesting, whether you realize it or not, whether you're consciously doing it or not. You are welcoming in this new, fresh change through being in a state of creative expression or exploration. So the more creative you are, the more you attract your way. And this came through in your love messages as well. I wasn't going to do love, but I realized that did come through in the initial reading. So we'll go through that at the end. But the more you do what you love, regardless of who's watching, and without worrying about, I don't want to say the quality of what you're doing, but not focusing on perfection and having things be a certain way, just genuinely flowing, that is what's going to bring more love, more joy, more abundance into your life. That is when you generate the most, because you naturally are a very creative and artistic person, and that is one of the ways in which you raise and create and put out energy. So looking at the near future of what is next, you have the Three of Swords. Now, if you're familiar with tarot, don't let this freak you out, because this, in my eyes, is not suggesting that something bad is going to happen or anything like that. What it feels like to me is that you're doing what is necessary to prioritize, to protect, and preserve your peace, right? I do feel as though there's going to be more truths and more clarity that comes, and it's not going to be so much as a shock, but there may be heavy feelings that come along with that. And again, that is completely valid. That is completely normal. It's important that you hold space for those feelings, because that is how you are really healing, is when you allow yourself to feel what you feel and give yourself the time and space to process those things. There's definitely a deeper comprehension of what things have been, how things have been, and how things are at this point in time. And that goes back to what I said about how you may look around and see that things haven't changed, how there is still this common theme, pattern, cycle, something that has continued to unfold. But now, instead of being in it, even if you are still in a certain environment, connected to certain people, you will never be within that again. It's like you're on the outside looking in, observing all of this. It's like you have inside information, but you're also able to see it from the position of not being in it, being outside of it, not affected by it in the way that you used to. For you, it's clear. It's almost like having a pair of glasses, right? And instead of it being rose-colored glasses that you may have had on before, where you could have focused on the nostalgia or held on to certain aspects of something, the good of certain things or people, versus addressing and acknowledging the things that are wrong or harmful. You now have on these glasses, and it's tied to the wisdom that you have, this experiential wisdom from this situation, from other situations, because you have experienced this pattern in other areas of your life. And for me, like, I resonate a lot with this, because certain things that I'm addressing and facing right now, very similar to what I'm picking up for you guys, which makes sense because we're connected, right? We're on the same wavelength. So for me, I came from what felt like at the time, and was like, to me, much worse. I came from a very traumatic and abusive situation that was extremely intense, very chaotic, and at that point, with where I was mentally, emotionally, and physically, I just felt like a dead woman walking, and I think I've said this before, where I had felt everything I could possibly feel, and I was just numb. Felt like I was on autopilot. I didn't feel like I was even me anymore. I felt like I had no identity, like I was just a shell going through it. Regardless of what else happened, it was like I was broken, and I was broken in a lot of ways. And with everything that I was going through at the end, like having to leave everything behind, that was a big thing. Having to move, leave a place, a state that I loved, that felt like home to me, regardless of everything that went on and happened there, tied to this situation and others. Having to just pack whatever I could fit, had a little money, go. That wasn't even the worst part of it. The worst part for me was severing myself from a situation where there was so much manipulation and codependency, and it felt as though I was witnessing a death. And even though it's a miracle that I got out of that situation and away from a situation and that person, at the time, I felt like I was dying. I felt like everything was over. I didn't realize how bad things were until I got away and had the time and space to process it. But through that experience and being in that cycle for a number of years, it's weird because it's like they're both connected to each other. That cycle was displaying things to me that I had already experienced. Certain attachment styles, relationships, like certain dynamics within my life already from my childhood, certain wounds. It was very triggering connection. It triggered a lot of wounds. And when I came here, which is like coming back to the root, right? Where everything started, originated. Coming back to specific unit, environment, certain connections. It's almost as if I took my eyes from that time of my life, from that experience, that cycle, and now when I come here and I'm looking at everything, it's like now I'm seeing all those red flags, or now I'm seeing all the things that I knew they were always there, but they're so apparent now they can't be ignored. It gave me this hyper awareness and this deeper or greater perspective to help me uproot the things that I've needed to uproot so I can really heal the wounds, these foundational wounds that have impacted my entire life up until this point, right? And will continue to in different ways. Sorry, that was so lengthy and rambly, but hopefully that made sense. It's like they're both connected. In that cycle, certain wounds were triggered, wounds that existed from my childhood, and then returning to that base foundation, returning to the root with that perspective after coming right out of that situation and coming here. Even though it's more subtle, it's not as intense and physically, mentally, emotionally catastrophic as that last situation. There are so many parallels. I don't even know where I was going with that. Oh, the Three of Swords. Yeah. So I was talking about deeper comprehension of things. And that may be the case for you guys, where you have experienced certain things that foundationally, that root comes from what you're facing now. So in the near future, you are continuing to come to terms with the truth, and it's something that is becoming more solidified, and it is something that is continuing to shape the shift that is happening within, which will help you in deciding how you're going to move forward from here and the next steps that you are going to take. I do want to pull some clarifying cards on the Three of Swords just to get some more information. And then we'll get into your advice. So we have 3 more cards. You have the Seven of Wands, 2 of Cups, and the 6 of Wands. So this Three of Swords, the disappointment, the hurt, the pain, these hard truths and hard realities, the things that you have had to face and that you are continuing to see, be revealed to you, that you are accepting. This is more so a card of healing for you. And that makes a lot of sense because your advice is the Four of Swords, which is the card of healing, resting, and recovering. But looking at these 3 first, the Seven of Wands is going to be standing your ground and advocating for yourself and standing up for what you believe in, who you are, what you want, what you desire. And it could talk about feeling as though you're backed against the wall, experiencing pressure from certain people, or just feeling this inherent pressure and obligation again, because that is something that has always been pushed upon you and something that has always made you anxious. So even if your anxiety is just triggered by the unknown, it may also bring up these other feelings that you have, or these habits that you may have, right? But you've been working through that. So Seven of Wands, the 2 of Cups, protecting yourself, right? I already said that. Protecting yourself, honoring yourself, protecting your peace, doing what is right for you, taking care of you, loving you, and ensuring that your actions, that your words reflect that. You do not need to carry on that cycle of abuse with yourself, towards yourself. You do not need to, nor should you be your own abuser. And they say our thoughts come from the voices that have been most impressionable to us, especially at a very young age. We're talking about those developmental years. So all that negative self-talk, the limiting beliefs, the self-hatred, the criticism, that comes from somewhere. You weren't just born with that. That is a type of conditioning, something you've watched, observed, or heard, something that was pushed onto you or that you witnessed in somebody else. And for you, especially with the person that came through and the other passive individuals that came through, I feel that this was directed at you. This is what you were told. And this is a big reason why it's been such a battle disconnecting from these things, because at that crucial time in your life, that became attached to your identity, your sense of self, something that felt deeply ingrained within you. So setting boundaries, putting yourself first, and doing what is necessary to take care of you, to give yourself the love that you deserve, it may come with pain, because that pain may be tied to distancing yourself from certain people. Again, it may mean that you're discovering the true intentions of others, and you may realize that that support really isn't there, or that their love is conditional, or relationships in your life could be transactional. You may notice when you do this that people start to treat you differently, and things will become abundantly even more clear at that point, because you standing on your own, separating yourself from an environment or from connections where there's this enmeshment, where there is a lack of separation, or you weren't allowed to have this separation, your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own opinions, your own identity. Everything you did was to cater to support another person. Everything you did was supposed to be to the liking of another person, that you're supposed to live on or do certain things for another person, right? When you fight against that and you choose your own independence and try to stand on your own, they see that as retaliation, and then they will retaliate against you and make it feel like it's you. So please remember, when you leave this reading, it's not you. You're doing what is best for you, and you should 1,000% continue to choose yourself. And the Six of Wands, you will be successful in this. You will be victorious in this. And this is how you are going to be able to fully overcome and break out of this curse. And that's what it feels like. It feels like this generational curse. Oh my gosh, there's a crow walking right next to my door, coming to say hello to you guys. Let's move on to your advice, and then we'll look at love real quick and close out. So like I already had said before, your advice is the Four of Swords. Rest, recovery, prioritizing your healing. And also I got the message about intuitive action. And there's something about subtle shifts that lead to healthy change, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually for you. It leads to a greater change in your life. So it could be, again, a big change in your routine, your reality, just your approach to things, your relationship with things. This is reframing, rewiring from the inside out. But with it emphasizing subtle, there's something about a softness. So instead of pushing yourself to, I don't know why I just heard rebrand, or to undergo a really intense transformation, right? For an example, I don't know if you guys have heard of 75 hard and 75 soft, but 75 hard is this intense program, and it's not just a physical thing, it is absolutely a mental thing. I feel like the mental part of it is even more intense than the physical, but there are certain things that you follow And every day it's like you have to work out 2 45-minute workouts, I believe. One has to be outside. You have to follow a certain diet. I think you can't have like sugar or alcohol, or I don't know, there's like certain things that you can't have. There's no rest days. You have to take a picture every day. You have to drink, I think it's a gallon of water. There's like certain things, 10 pages of a nonfiction book that you have to follow for 75 days, right? Then there's different variations of it. There's 75 soft. So on the flip side, 75 soft, is supposed to be the more chill, watered down. I don't want to say watered down because it still can be a lot, right? Like I did 75 soft, and when I first started, it was a lot for me. I wasn't able to complete. I only went halfway, but I'm thinking about starting it again. And it's like 3 liters of water, 10 pages of any book. You get 1 active rest day. I think it's only 1 45-minute workout or something, or an hour workout. And with your diet, it's like a diet of your choosing. And then you can have certain cheat foods, like on certain days or like special occasions or something like that, versus cutting it out altogether. I'm not saying it has to be like 75 hard or 75 soft, but those are examples of how you may feel as though in order to achieve certain goals or to embody the version of you that you are wanting to be, that you see yourself becoming, that you have to do it in a really intense way. But right now, with all of the changes that you are undergoing, especially internally, that is going to lead to external change. That is inevitable. That'll lead to external change. It's just a matter of time. It's more important now that you take a softer approach to things. So maybe instead of going to do, like for the physical side of it, for example, instead of going to do a HIIT workout, why don't you do some yoga? Or why don't you go for a walk, do something lighter? Instead of restricting your diet or cutting your calories or like doing something really extreme there, why don't you practice intuitive eating? Make certain adjustments that will benefit your health, or cut certain things out that like, okay, I'm going to cut back on this versus going cold turkey altogether. I mean, different things work for different people. So you may benefit from those sudden changes, but when it comes to your healing and your recovery right now, that softness is going to help you. Gentle activities, more sleep, having a nourishing start and end to your day. So maybe having a slow, intentional morning and evening, something that'll help you prepare for the day and get in the right mindset, and something that'll help you wind down for the day. So maybe that's like waking up and taking extra time to get ready, or meditating, doing some sort of physical practice, or it could be a creative outlet, right? It could be dancing, it could be painting, it could be drawing, it could be writing, journaling, something like that. Taking time to prepare food for yourself. And then at night, maybe you take time making dinner for yourself, going for a walk, or maybe you take time then to journal and to meditate. I also got something about body scans too, because as you're processing and releasing these emotions that are coming up, that are trying to come out, you're not just expressing them through, or I would say that you're not just expressing them in an emotional way, right? Through yelling, through crying. We store a lot within our body, and we may store certain things in certain places within our body. So I would make a habit of doing body scans, and they have like 10-minute ones on YouTube that you can do. You just lay down or sit down, you go through your body and feel those areas, right? And visualize them opening up, or you just become more mindful of certain parts of your body, more aware of certain parts of your body, how they feel, what you may be holding or carrying. And through doing that, you can help direct these things out in a healthy way, because maybe they are getting blocked. Maybe physically that is manifesting in a certain way for you as stagnancy, or you could be having certain complications. And listen, I'm not a doctor, so of course seek out advice from a medical professional. I'm not a medical professional, but speaking from my own experience, there have been times where when I'm going through certain things or I'm stressed, that my body will respond and react a certain way. I notice that I may bloat more, struggle with inflammation more. Like there's certain things that become irritants that will then affect me physically. And of course, tied to that, there likely are other physical factors, contributing factors, but that is something that I've noticed. You may notice the same thing, so just be mindful of that. And by taking intuitive action, that is something that is going to continue to help you as you transition out of the hurt, out of the pain. It'll help you with what you're processing. So looking at love for you, your current energy, you have the Queen of Cups. So deep intuitive understanding of your own desires and feelings. The Queen of Cups, she's nurturing, she is compassionate, and there's something about you being able to regenerate yourself. And this is part of what makes you a really powerful healer. You guys are able to heal yourself, you heal other people. And while I'm hearing it's unfair and it's unfortunate that you don't have that support that you could really use and need right now from another person or people, you definitely may feel as though you don't have people that you can fully rely upon or that you can trust. You're doing this for yourself, and especially when it comes to love, connections, relationships. Love is not just romantic, platonic, familial, otherwise. But I think you are healing that relationship you have with yourself. This is also about self-love, but healing that relationship you have with love and seeing it from a new light. And you do likely experience your emotions in a really profound way. You may feel as though you feel things on a greater, deeper level than other people do, or you may have been told that you're too sensitive, you're too much, you're over dramatic, things like that. And that's not true, okay? You do have a heightened sensitivity, and I think that you are just someone that is more connected to your emotional depth and that vulnerability than other people. Most people are afraid of that, so they kind of draw a line, emotionally speaking, even with themselves, where they only allow themselves to experience or feel so much before they move on and direct their attention to other things. So when it comes to emotions, even if you feel more detached or avoidant now because of these experiences, you are the opposite of avoidant. You may be more withdrawn from connections because there is a message of seclusion and sticking to yourself and being in your own energy and presence, but I feel like that is something that is good for you, especially right now as you discern what connections are good for you. It almost is like you're taking a step back, you're looking at every connection and you're kind of weighing, I don't know if pros and cons would be the right way of framing it, but like you are looking at the positives and the negatives of how you are affected by certain connections and also how you affect others too. So seeing if the nature of your connection is something that is built on a more healthier foundation, or if it's something that may be more toxic or destructive or codependent. And with this embracing of receptivity, being more receptive, this is that feminine flow. And that's what I mean when I say feminine, is being open to receiving. That is the position that you are in currently, is allowing things to flow to you. You are definitely not in a space or a state of chasing, it seems. And there may be moments where you may push or fight for some sort of control, but I think that you've been checking yourself more regularly, and when that happens, it's like, again, you're identifying where that comes from. Where does my need for control come from? Why do I feel so afraid and anxious? Like, what is this stemming from? If I could hear your thoughts right now, it's a lot of that. A lot of breaking things down, of analyzing things and gaining a different outlook and perspective. And that may be overwhelming, so give yourself a break. I know a lot of it may feel outside of your control, like it's just happening, but again, it's because of that breakthrough. It's like you're experiencing this awakening and being overloaded with a lot of information all at once. So try and ground yourself as much as you can, when you can. What else do we have? We have, yes, the more you create from a place of love, doing what you love, the more you attract love into your life, which I already talked about. Now look at your past. You have the 8 of Cups. Makes a lot of sense. Identifying patterns with thoughts, behaviors, and attachments rooted in wounding, insecurity, and fear. So the mental and emotional detachment or severance happen through your cognizance and your awareness. So even, again, if physically you're still around certain people, in a certain environment, still in a certain situation, you're really not, because your awareness, it's like as soon as you're aware from something, you sever that tie and that cord, and you're not connected to it anymore. It's like you are freed from it in that instance, because you'll never be able to go back and see it the same way again. Like, once your perception of something is changed, it is permanently changed until it changes again, right? And continues to evolve beyond that. So a lot of letting go, coming to terms with things, releasing, and I still think you're in the process of that, but the heavier side of it, right, the worst part of it that we talked about before, is already behind you. And then for the future and what's next, you have the 5 of Swords with the High Priestess. So this could be about you addressing a prior conflict and shifting from fear-based decision-making into intuitive decision-making. So really trusting your intuition, moving forward, versus waiting for the towers to fall before you're pushed to do something, right? Which could have been a theme in the past. But what I'm also feeling, the trusting of intuitive nudges when it comes to current conflicts, connections, and evaluating this. So I was talking about how you're looking at every connection in your life, or everything in your life, and you're analyzing it. This is this energy. The 5 of Swords could be internal conflict. It could be external conflict. It also could talk about or reference instability in certain situations or dynamics, unhealthy patterns, toxic behaviors, things like that, power dynamics or power struggles. So that's where that, is it fear or is it my intuition, comes into play. That is something that you've been facing and you will continue to address in the near future. But I think it's more so, again, because now that you are past, or you are in the aftermath of all of the letting go, all the purging, having things be exposed in such a big way, now it's like, okay, let me look at this person. Is this pattern here? When I met this person, this is where I was at this point in my life. This is how the connection has been. And it's like you're taking this fine-tooth comb and going through it and like really picking out certain details, certain things that catch your eye, catch your attention. You're deeply analyzing things. So that is going to continue in the near future, and I think that's really good to do, because again, you're moving into a new chapter of your life, and I feel like it's going to happen in a very big way. You could be moving, like me, you could be moving, relocating, you could be changing jobs, careers altogether. You could be leaving a relationship or having left a relationship and meeting someone new. There's a lot of different things. It could be all those things encompassed into one, but there's something about embarking on a huge shift and change, being in an entirely new space, a new environment. Yeah, this is much bigger than I think you realized initially. And once you are fully physically on the other side of that gate that we talked about before in this new beginning, because things aren't so linear, like it's not the ending, then it stops, and then a new beginning starts. They overlap, right? You already are in the new beginning because you have embraced the change, and mentally and emotionally and even physically, whether you see it or not, you've already embraced this new version of you that aligns with this next chapter of your life. So physically, it may not look like it yet, but you are experiencing certain changes physically because of what you've been working on and working through internally. All right, so things are aligning. Justice is being served. I think we're going to get more about that in the future, but while it came through, they really wanted to focus on more so where you're at in processing everything, which is good. I definitely rather us get more about you than other people. So let me know if you like how I set up this reading, the style of the reading. Hopefully it made sense. It was more cohesive, not all over the place. I love you guys so much. Okay, be easy on yourselves. I'm proud of you. Again, I hope you're proud of you, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, stay safe. Mwah. Oh my gosh, wait, I'm so sorry for all the wind. Final message, you guys could definitely be moving because 555 is on the time, and every time I've seen 555 in my life, I have moved in a big way, like physically relocated. So you could be moving, okay? Anyways, that's it. Bye.